Howdy, friends. I hope y'all are well. Tonight, we're going to explore something that affects nearly everyone who's ever signed up for a streaming service, a software trial, or a subscription box. We're going to talk about free trials, and more specifically, how they're deliberately designed in ways that make it difficult for you to actually cancel before you're charged. Take a moment to get comfortable. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow down. This is a space for understanding, for clarity, and maybe for releasing some frustration you've been carrying about those surprise charges on your credit card statement. Whether you've been caught by a free trial yourself, or you're just curious about how these systems work, settle in, and let's explore this together. Free trials seem like such a generous offer. Try our service for 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, completely free. No commitment, no risk, just pure opportunity to see if you like something before you buy it. It sounds almost too good to be true. And, as we'll discover tonight, in many cases, it is too good to be true. Not because the trial itself is fake, but because the entire system is engineered with the assumption, even the intention, that you won't successfully cancel before the trial ends. Tonight, we're going to pull back the curtain on free trial design. We'll explore the psychological tricks, the interface manipulations, the legal fine print, and the business models that make free trials profitable specifically because so many people fail to cancel them. We'll understand why it's not your fault when you get charged, and why the system is working exactly as intended when that happens. So, settle in, get comfortable, let your breathing slow down, and let's begin this journey into understanding how free trials are designed to fail. Now, let's start by understanding what free trials actually are and why companies offer them in the first place. A free trial is essentially a risk-free sample of a product or service. The company lets you use their offering for a limited time without charging you, hoping that you'll like it enough to become a paying customer. This has been a marketing strategy for generations. Sample products in grocery stores, test drives at car dealerships, trial memberships at gyms. These are all variations of the same basic concept. Let people try before they buy. In the digital age, free trials have become ubiquitous. Streaming services, software companies, meal kit subscriptions, fitness apps, productivity tools, nearly every digital service offers some kind of free trial. The barrier to entry is incredibly low. Just enter your email and credit card information, and you're instantly accessing the service. That last part is crucial. You have to enter your credit card information. Even though the trial is free, even though you won't be charged during the trial period, you must provide payment information up front. This is supposedly for convenience, so that if you do decide to continue, there's no friction. You don't have to come back and enter your payment details. The transition from trial to paid subscription is seamless. But that seamlessness works in the company's favor far more than yours. By capturing your payment information up front, they've set up a system where the default action is to charge you. You have to actively prevent the charge by canceling. If you do nothing, if you forget, if you're too busy, if the cancellation process is difficult, you get charged. The inertia works in favor of the company. From a business perspective, free trials serve multiple purposes. Yes, they do convert some users who genuinely try the service, love it, and intentionally continue as paying customers. These are the success stories companies talk about. But free trials also capture accidental customers, people who meant to cancel but didn't, people who forgot the trial was ending, people who found the cancellation process too confusing or time-consuming. The conversion rate from free trial to paid subscription is a key metric for subscription businesses. Industry averages vary by sector, but conversion rates between 25 and 40% are common. That might sound modest, but here's the thing. A significant portion of those conversions aren't people who made an active choice to continue. They're people who passively got charged because they didn't successfully cancel. Some companies are more ethical about this than others. Some genuinely want you to make an informed choice and will send multiple reminders as your trial ends. Others operate in a gray area, doing the bare minimum required by law, making cancellation difficult enough that many people get charged even when they meant to cancel. The most predatory companies design their free trials specifically to trap users. The free trial isn't really a trial at all. It's a conversion funnel designed to capture your payment information and make it as likely as possible that you'll be charged, whether or not you actually want the service. Understanding this context is important. Free trials aren't inherently evil. They can be a legitimate way to let customers evaluate a service, but they exist in a business environment where companies are incentivized to maximize paid conversions, and that incentive has led to design patterns and practices that aren't in your best interest. Now, let's explore the psychology behind why free trials are so effective at getting people to sign up in the first place. The word free is one of the most powerful words in marketing. Research has consistently shown that people respond to free offers in ways that aren't entirely rational. We overvalue free things, even when a cheap paid alternative might be objectively better. This is called the zero price effect, and it's extraordinarily powerful. When you see free trial, your brain lights up. There's no financial risk, at least not immediately. You're not spending money, you're just exploring an option. This removes the psychological barrier that normally prevents impulse purchases. You don't have to deliberate about whether this expense fits your budget. It's free. Why wouldn't you try it? The low barrier to entry makes free trials incredibly effective at capturing leads. If a service cost money up front, you'd have to make a real decision. Is this worth the money? Do I need this? Can I afford this? But with a free trial, those questions are deferred. You can try it now and decide later. This decide later mindset is exactly what companies want, because later often never comes, or comes too late, after you've already been charged. Curiosity is another powerful driver. When something is available for free, you're curious about it even if you weren't actively looking for that service. Maybe you see an ad for a streaming service you haven't tried. Normally, you'd ignore it. You already have Netflix and that's enough. But it's free for a month. Suddenly, you're curious. What shows do they have? Maybe there's something worth watching. Before you know it, you've signed up, driven by curiosity rather than genuine need. There's also FOMO, fear of missing out. Maybe everyone's talking about a new show on a streaming service you don't have, or a productivity app that everyone in your field seems to be using. The free trial offers a way to participate without commitment. You can see what the fuss is about, be part of the conversation, not feel left out. This social pressure, combined with the zero-cost entry, makes signing up feel like a no-brainer. The paradox of choice plays a role too. In an era of abundance, where there are hundreds of streaming services, thousands of apps, endless options for everything, free trials make it possible to sample widely without immediate cost. You can try 3 different meal kit services, 4 streaming platforms, 5 productivity apps, all at the same time, all for free. Each individual sign-up feels consequence-free. But here's where the psychology gets tricky. Each of those free trials has an end date. Each one requires you to remember to cancel if you don't want to continue. Each one is a mental burden, a thing you have to track and manage. And as those trials pile up, the likelihood that you'll successfully manage all of them decreases dramatically. Companies know this. They know that the psychological appeal of free will get you to sign up even if you're not entirely sure you want the service. They know that curiosity and FOMO are powerful motivators. They know that you're probably signing up for multiple free trials, maybe even from their competitors, and that you can't possibly manage all of them perfectly. The free trial, from the company's perspective, is a foot in the door. It's a way to get past your initial resistance, to get you into their ecosystem, to get your payment information on file. Once they have that, time and human psychology work in their favor. You'll get busy, you'll forget, you'll procrastinate on canceling, or you'll find the cancellation process just annoying enough that you put it off until after the trial ends. This isn't accidental. The entire free trial model is built on the understanding that human attention is limited, human memory is imperfect, and human behavior tends toward inertia. Companies aren't just hoping you'll love their service. They're also counting on the fact that even if you don't love it, there's a good chance you'll end up paying for it anyway. Now, let's talk about the design patterns that make canceling free trials difficult, starting with the way trial periods are structured. Trial length varies widely. Some trials are just 3 days, others are 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, or even longer. The length isn't arbitrary. It's carefully chosen based on psychology and business strategy. Very short trials, like 3 or 7 days, create urgency. You sign up thinking you'll evaluate the service over the weekend, but life gets busy. Before you know it, the trial is over and you've been charged. You barely had time to use the service, let alone make an informed decision about it. Short trials benefit the company because there's less time for you to realize you don't need the service and cancel. Longer trials, like 30 days, seem more generous. A whole month to try the service. But longer trials have their own trick. They're easy to forget about. You sign up, use the service a few times in the first week, then forget about it. Life goes on. A month feels like a long time, so you don't feel urgency about canceling. Then, suddenly, it's day 31 and you've been charged. The length that seemed generous was actually designed to outlast your attention span. Some companies use odd trial lengths that don't align with how we naturally think about time. A 10-day trial or a 21-day trial. These awkward periods are harder to track mentally. When did you sign up? When does it end? If it were 7 days or 30 days, you could think next Tuesday or next month. But 10 days? 21 days? You probably need to check the exact date, which creates friction, which makes you less likely to cancel on time. The trial start date can also be deliberately unclear. Did your trial start the day you signed up, or the day you first used the service? Some companies count from sign-up, others from first use. This ambiguity makes it harder to know exactly when your trial ends, increasing the likelihood you'll miss the cancellation window. Trial end notifications are another area of manipulation. Legally, in many jurisdictions, companies are required to notify you before charging you after a trial. But the specifics of this notification can vary. Some companies send you an email days before the trial ends, giving you time to decide and cancel if needed. Others send a notification the day before or even the day of, giving you minimal time to act. Some notifications are deliberately vague or buried. The email might not clearly state that you're about to be charged. It might say something like, "Your trial is ending soon. We hope you're enjoying the service," without explicitly saying, "You will be charged X dollars on Y date unless you cancel." The key information is technically present, maybe in fine print or further down in the email, but it's not prominently displayed. Some companies send the notification to an email address you rarely check, or they send it as part of a marketing email that looks like promotional material, so you delete it without reading. The company can say they notified you, technically fulfilling their legal obligation, but the notification was designed to be missed or ignored. Notification timing can also be manipulated through time zone games. If you signed up for a trial at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday, does your trial end at midnight 7 days later or at 10 p.m.? If it ends at midnight, you might think you have all of Thursday to cancel, but actually, your trial ended at 12:01 a.m. Thursday, and you're already being charged. These time zone and time of day ambiguities create confusion that works in the company's favor. Some companies don't send any notification at all beyond what's legally required, which in some jurisdictions is nothing. You signed up, you agreed to terms that said you'd be charged after the trial, and that's considered sufficient notice. The burden is entirely on you to remember and to cancel. Calendar integration is almost never offered. Imagine if, when you signed up for a free trial, the company automatically added the end date to your calendar with a reminder to cancel if you don't want to continue. This would be trivially easy to implement, but companies don't do it because it would increase cancellation rates. They want it to be your responsibility to track the trial period, because the more responsibility they put on you, the more likely you are to mess up. Now, let's explore the specific design patterns that make the cancellation process itself difficult, frustrating, and time-consuming. The first barrier is often just finding the cancellation option. In a well-designed user interface, important actions are easy to find. But cancellation is rarely treated as an important action, at least not from the user interface perspective. It's deliberately hidden, buried in menus, obscured behind unclear language. You might think canceling would be in your account settings, which seems logical, but often it's not there. Or it is there, but under a section called Membership or Billing, rather than something obvious like Cancel Subscription. You have to hunt through multiple menu options, clicking around, trying to find where they've hidden the cancellation button. Some services require you to cancel through a completely different path than you used to sign up. You signed up on their website, but you can only cancel through their mobile app, or vice versa. Or you signed up through a third party, like the Apple App Store, and you have to cancel through that platform rather than through the service itself. These fragmented cancellation paths create confusion and friction. Language matters too. The cancellation option might not say cancel. It might say manage subscription or update billing or some other euphemism that doesn't clearly communicate that this is where you go to cancel. You have to click through to find out if this is the right place, wasting time and increasing the likelihood you'll give up. Some services use dark patterns in their interface design. A dark pattern is a user interface designed to trick users into doing things they don't want to do. In the context of cancellation, this might mean having a bright, prominent button that says Keep Subscription and a small, gray, barely visible link that says No thanks, I want to cancel. The interface is designed to make you click the wrong button, to make keeping the subscription the path of least resistance. Multi-step cancellation processes are common. You can't just click Cancel and be done. First, you have to click Cancel. Then, you're taken to a page that asks why you're canceling. Then, you have to select a reason from a drop-down. Then, you're shown a retention offer. Wait, what if we give you 50% off for 3 months? Then, you have to decline that offer. Then, you're asked to confirm your cancellation. Then, you might be asked to confirm again. Each step is a chance for you to change your mind, or to make a mistake, or to get frustrated and give up. Some cancellation processes require you to provide feedback or answer questions before you can proceed. You have to write out why you're canceling, or rate various aspects of the service, or answer a survey. This isn't for your benefit. It's to waste your time and create friction, hoping you'll find it annoying enough that you'll think, I'll just do this later, and then forget or run out of time. Time delays are another tactic. You click Cancel, and the interface says, Your cancellation request has been received and will be processed within 24 to 48 hours. But your trial ends in 12 hours. So, even though you tried to cancel, you might still get charged because the cancellation wasn't processed in time. This processing time is artificial. There's no technical reason a cancellation should take 2 days. It's deliberate friction. Some companies require you to contact customer service to cancel. You can't do it yourself through the interface. You have to call a phone number, or start a chat, or send an email. This is massive friction. You have to wait on hold, or wait for a chat agent to respond, or wait for an email reply. And customer service is trained to retain you, to offer you deals, to talk you out of canceling. The whole interaction is designed to be time-consuming and uncomfortable. Phone-only cancellation is particularly egregious. Some services require you to call during business hours to cancel. If you work during business hours, this is a significant barrier. You have to take time during your workday to make this call, or try to squeeze it in during lunch, or wait until you have a day off. Many people simply can't manage this, so they get charged. The customer service agent might not be easy to work with either. They're incentivized to retain subscribers, so they'll use every retention tactic in the book. They'll question why you're canceling. They'll offer discounts, free months, different plans. They'll make you feel guilty or wasteful for canceling. They'll drag out the conversation. All of this is designed to make you feel uncomfortable enough that you just give up and stay subscribed. Some companies use the fake cancellation pattern. You go through the cancellation process, you click all the buttons, you confirm, and you think you've canceled. But you haven't. You've actually just downgraded to a paused subscription or a different tier. The language was deliberately misleading. You only realize you didn't actually cancel when you get charged next month. This is borderline fraud, but it happens. Confirmation ambiguity is another issue. After you cancel, do you get a clear confirmation? An email that says, Your subscription has been canceled and you will not be charged again. Sometimes yes, but sometimes the confirmation is vague. We've updated your subscription preferences. Did that mean you canceled or just changed something? The ambiguity creates doubt, but by the time you realize it wasn't clear, you might have been charged. Now, let's talk about the legal and regulatory landscape around free trials, and why companies get away with these practices. In many jurisdictions, there are consumer protection laws that govern free trials and automatic renewals. These laws typically require companies to clearly disclose the terms of the trial, to get explicit consent before charging, and to provide a simple way to cancel. But the specifics vary by location, and enforcement is often weak. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission has guidelines about free trials and negative option marketing, which is what automatic renewals are called. Companies are supposed to clearly disclose material terms, obtain informed consent, and provide simple cancellation mechanisms. But these guidelines aren't always strictly enforced, and companies can often get away with practices that are technically compliant but practically predatory. California has some of the strongest laws in the U.S. regarding automatic renewals. The California Automatic Renewal Law requires companies to present the automatic renewal terms clearly, obtain affirmative consent, provide acknowledgement of the subscription, and allow cancellation by a method at least as easy as the sign-up method. This last part is important. If you signed up online, you should be able to cancel online. You shouldn't have to call a phone number. But even in California, enforcement is inconsistent. Many companies violate these requirements regularly and face no consequences. Or they face occasional fines that are small compared to the revenue generated by making cancellation difficult. The fines become just a cost of doing business. In the European Union, consumer protection is generally stronger. The Consumer Rights Directive gives consumers the right to cancel subscriptions within 14 days without giving a reason, and companies must provide clear information about cancellation rights. But again, enforcement varies by country, and companies find ways to comply technically while still making cancellation frustrating in practice. The challenge with regulation is that it's hard to write laws that prevent every form of dark pattern or friction. Companies have entire teams of designers, developers, and lawyers whose job is to maximize conversion and minimize cancellation while staying within legal bounds. They can create processes that are technically legal but practically difficult. Terms of service are another shield companies hide behind. When you sign up for a free trial, you agree to terms of service, often without reading them. Buried in those terms are clauses about automatic renewal, cancellation policies, and various conditions. By agreeing, you've consented to whatever they put in there, as long as it's not explicitly illegal. These terms are deliberately long and complex. Nobody reads them. Companies know this. They can include provisions that are unfavorable to consumers, knowing that you won't notice until it's too late. And once you've agreed, you have limited recourse. You consented, even if that consent wasn't truly informed. Some companies use arbitration clauses in their terms of service, which means if you have a dispute, you can't sue them in court. You have to go through arbitration, which is expensive, time-consuming, and statistically favors companies over individuals. This removes one of the main mechanisms consumers have to hold companies accountable. Class action waivers are also common in terms of service. You agree that you can't join a class action lawsuit against the company. You can only pursue individual arbitration. This means that even if the company has wronged thousands or millions of customers in the same way, each person has to fight separately, which is impractical for most people given the small amounts of money involved. The legal landscape is slowly improving. More jurisdictions are passing laws requiring clearer disclosures, easier cancellation, and stronger consumer protections. But it's a slow process, and companies adapt their practices to stay within legal bounds while still making cancellation as difficult as they can get away with. Credit card companies have started to help too. Some credit cards now offer virtual card numbers for free trials, so you can sign up without giving your real credit card number. When the trial ends, the virtual number doesn't work, so you don't get charged. This shifts the power dynamic back toward consumers, at least for those who know about and use these features. Bank protections against unwanted subscriptions are also growing. Some banks now make it easy to block specific merchants or to dispute subscription charges. If you get charged for a subscription you thought you canceled, your bank might side with you and reverse the charge. But this varies by bank, and you have to know these protections exist and how to use them. Now, let's explore the business models that make predatory free trials profitable and why companies are incentivized to design them to fail. Subscription businesses live and die by their metrics. The key metrics are customer acquisition cost, how much it costs to get a new subscriber, customer lifetime value, how much revenue a subscriber generates over their entire time with the service, and churn rate, what percentage of subscribers cancel each month. Free trials are a customer acquisition tool. They lower the barrier to entry, making it easier to get people to sign up. But they also create a challenge. How do you convert free trial users into paying subscribers? The ideal conversion is someone who tries the service, loves it, and intentionally continues as a paying customer. These customers have the highest lifetime value. They're engaged, they're getting value from the service, and they're likely to remain subscribers for a long time. But intentional conversions aren't always enough to make the business model work. If only 20 or 30% of trial users convert intentionally, the economics might not work. Customer acquisition costs through advertising, partnerships, and other marketing are high. If most trial users don't convert, the company loses money. This is where friction-based conversions come in. These are the users who meant to cancel but didn't, who forgot about the trial, who found cancellation too difficult. They get charged not because they affirmatively chose to continue, but because they passively failed to cancel. From a revenue perspective, these conversions look the same as intentional ones, at least initially. The problem with friction-based conversions is that these customers tend to have low engagement and high churn. They didn't really want the service, so they're not using it much. Once they realize they're being charged, they're likely to cancel immediately, and they're unlikely to ever subscribe again. They might also leave negative reviews, spread negative word of mouth, or dispute the charge with their credit card company. But here's the calculation companies make. Even if these friction-based conversions only last 1 or 2 months before canceling, that's still revenue. If the monthly subscription is $10 and a friction-based conversion stays for 2 months before canceling, that's $20 the company wouldn't have gotten if cancellation had been easy. Multiply that by thousands or millions of users, and you're talking about significant revenue. Some companies are more dependent on friction-based conversions than others. Services with weak product-market fit, where most users don't find much value, might rely heavily on making cancellation difficult to generate revenue. They know most users won't want to continue, so they maximize revenue by making it hard not to continue. Premium services with strong product-market fit can afford to make cancellation easy because they're confident most users will choose to stay. If your service is genuinely valuable and people love it, You don't need to trick them into staying. But even these companies often add some friction, because even a small increase in conversion rate can mean millions in additional revenue. The subscription economy has exploded in recent years. Everything is becoming a subscription. Software, entertainment, food, clothing, even physical products like razors or toothbrushes. This proliferation means the average person is managing more subscriptions than ever, which means more opportunities to forget to cancel, more complexity, more cognitive load. Companies know you're overwhelmed. They know you're probably subscribed to a dozen services, maybe more. They know you can't possibly track all of them perfectly. Your overwhelm is their opportunity. Each subscription is betting that they'll be the one you forget about, the one where you don't get around to canceling in time. Subscription fatigue is starting to set in for consumers. People are realizing they're spending hundreds of dollars a month on subscriptions they barely use. There's a growing movement towards subscription audits, where people go through their bank statements and cancel everything they don't actively need. This is a threat to subscription businesses, which is why they fight so hard to make cancellation difficult. Some companies have started to recognize that predatory practices ultimately hurt their brand. Netflix, for example, makes cancellation relatively easy. They want people to subscribe and cancel based on whether there's content they want to watch. They'd rather have an honest relationship with customers than trap them through friction. But Netflix can afford this approach because they have strong content and loyal customers. Smaller services with weaker offerings can't necessarily afford to be as ethical. Now, let's talk about the psychological impact of getting trapped in unwanted subscriptions, because this isn't just about money. When you realize you've been charged for a subscription you thought you canceled or forgot to cancel, there's an immediate feeling of frustration. You tried to do the right thing, or you meant to do the right thing, and the system defeated you. It feels unfair, which it is. This frustration can ruin your day, especially if the charge creates financial stress. There's also shame. You feel stupid for forgetting, for not keeping better track, for falling for the trap. Even though the system was designed to trap you, you internalize it as a personal failure. This shame prevents people from talking about these experiences, which means others don't learn from them, which means the problem perpetuates. The feeling of being tricked or scammed is common. Even when the company was technically following their stated terms, it feels like you've been deceived. The free trial wasn't really free. The service you didn't want to pay for is now taking your money. This erodes trust, not just in that specific company, but in free trials generally, and even in digital services broadly. Financial stress compounds these emotional impacts. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, an unexpected subscription charge can be genuinely harmful. It might mean insufficient funds for groceries, or an overdraft fee, or having to borrow money. What seemed like a harmless free trial becomes a financial crisis. The time and energy required to resolve the situation is also a burden. You have to figure out how to cancel now that you've been charged. You might try to get a refund, which typically involves contacting customer service, explaining the situation, possibly arguing your case. This takes time you don't have, creates stress, and often doesn't even succeed. Some companies are more reasonable about refunds than others. If you contact them immediately and explain that you meant to cancel, some will refund the charge, especially if it's your first time being charged. But others have strict no refund policies. You agreed to the automatic renewal, you got charged, and that's that. Even if their cancellation process was deliberately difficult, they're not obligated to refund you. Disputing the charge with your credit card company is an option, but it's not guaranteed to work. Credit card companies will often side with consumers on subscription charges, especially if you can show you tried to cancel or that the cancellation process was deliberately difficult. But this takes time and effort, and there's no guarantee of success. The cumulative effect of dealing with multiple unwanted subscriptions is exhaustion. It's not just one service that charged you, it's 3 or 5 or 10. Each one requires separate effort to cancel and possibly dispute. The sheer volume of work required to fix something that shouldn't have happened in the first place is demoralizing. There's also learned helplessness. After being trapped by free trials multiple times, you start to believe that this is just how things are. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen no matter what you do. So you stop being as careful about signing up for trials, because what's the point? You're going to get charged anyway. This mindset benefits companies, because now you're not even trying to avoid the trap. The erosion of trust in business broadly is concerning. When companies consistently use dark patterns and predatory practices, it damages the social contract between businesses and consumers. People become cynical, suspicious, unwilling to try new services even when they might be genuinely good. This hurts ethical companies who are competing with unethical ones who use these tactics. Now, let's explore specific industries and how they use free trials, starting with streaming services. Streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, and dozens of others all use free trials as a primary customer acquisition strategy. The trials are typically between 7 and 30 days, long enough to binge a show or two, but not so long that most people watch everything they want and cancel satisfied. The streaming industry has an interesting dynamic. Content is released strategically to retain subscribers. If a service releases all episodes of a popular show at once, people might subscribe, binge the show during a free trial, and then cancel. To prevent this, some services have moved to weekly releases, ensuring that you can't finish a show during a free trial, making it more likely you'll continue subscribing to see how it ends. Streaming services also benefit from the sheer abundance of content. Even in a 30-day trial, you can't possibly watch everything that interests you. There's always more you want to see. When the trial ends, you might think, I'll keep it just one more month to watch these other shows, and then another month, and before you know it, you've been subscribed for a year, much of which you barely use the service. The streaming market is now oversaturated. There are too many services, each with exclusive content, each requiring a separate subscription. This creates subscription fatigue, but it also creates confusion that benefits the services. With so many subscriptions, you're less likely to notice when you're being charged for one you forgot to cancel. Some streaming services have been caught being particularly predatory with free trials, making cancellation require phone calls, or processing cancellation slowly so you get charged even if you canceled within the trial period. Others are more ethical, making cancellation easy and even reminding you before the trial ends. Software as a service, or SaaS, is another industry where free trials are ubiquitous. Productivity tools, design software, business applications, nearly every SaaS product offers a free trial. These trials are typically shorter, often 7 or 14 days, because the value proposition is usually clear quickly. You either need the tool or you don't. SaaS free trials often require a credit card up front, even more consistently than consumer services. The reasoning is that businesses have credit cards and this friction is worth the higher conversion rate. But it also means more people get charged accidentally because they were evaluating multiple tools and forgot to cancel the ones they didn't choose. Enterprise SaaS often has a different model. The free trial might not require a credit card, but the trial is time limited, and after it ends, you lose access unless you contact sales to set up a paid account. This avoids accidental charges, but it creates different pressure. You're dealing with a salesperson who's incentivized to close the deal and might use high-pressure tactics. Meal kit services like HelloFresh, Blue Apron, and others use free trials or heavy discounts on first orders to acquire customers. These services are interesting because there's actual product being shipped, not just digital access. You get a week or two of meals at a steep discount, sometimes essentially free after applying promotional codes. The trap with meal kits is that the promotional price is drastically different from the regular price. Your first week might be $15, but the regular price is $60 per week. When that first full price charge hits, it's a shock. Many people don't realize how expensive the ongoing subscription is because they focused on the promotional price. Meal kits also make cancellation deliberately difficult. Many require you to pause or cancel several days before your next scheduled delivery, and they don't always make it clear when that deadline is. If you miss the cutoff, you're locked into receiving and paying for another week's worth of meals, whether you want them or not. The physical product creates additional guilt and waste. If you meant to cancel but didn't, you now have boxes of food arriving. You can't just ignore it. You have to deal with it, use it, or waste it. This makes the accidental subscription feel even worse than a digital service you can just ignore. Fitness and wellness apps are another category heavy on free trials. Workout apps, meditation apps, nutrition tracking apps, these often offer a free week or month. The trial works well for fitness because people are often motivated at the start of their fitness journey, but that motivation tends to fade. You sign up during a burst of enthusiasm, use it for a few days, then forget about it. When the charge hits weeks later, you haven't used the app in a while. Fitness apps also bank on New Year's resolutions. January sees a massive spike in fitness app subscriptions, most from free trials. But by February, most people have abandoned their fitness goals. However, many don't cancel the subscription. They keep paying, month after month, for an app they're not using, thinking, "I'll get back to it eventually." This is extremely profitable for fitness apps. Now let's talk about the role of app stores in the free trial ecosystem, because Apple App Store and Google Play Store have their own policies and design patterns that affect free trials. When you sign up for a free trial through an app store, the subscription is managed through your App Store account, rather than directly with the service. This has pros and cons. On the pro side, app stores have standardized cancellation processes. You can see all your subscriptions in one place and cancel them relatively easily. This is better than having to track down cancellation options in each individual app or website. On the con side, the cancellation process through app stores isn't always obvious to users. You don't cancel within the app itself. You have to go into your App Store settings, find subscriptions, locate the specific subscription, and cancel it there. Many people don't know this. They delete the app thinking that cancels the subscription, but it doesn't. they keep getting charged for an app they no longer even have installed. This confusion benefits the services. They can blame the App Store for any cancellation difficulties while continuing to collect revenue from confused users who think deleting the app was sufficient. The services themselves often do little to educate users about the correct cancellation process, and some actively avoid explaining it clearly. App Store trials also tend to have very prominent Start Free Trial buttons that make sign-up feel effortless, which is the point. Apple and Google want transactions to happen on their platforms because they take a cut of subscription revenue. Easy sign-ups mean more subscriptions mean more revenue for everyone except the user who's now managing multiple subscriptions they might not want. The app stores do send notifications about upcoming charges, which is helpful. But these notifications can be easy to miss or dismiss, especially if you get a lot of notifications from your phone. You might glance at it, think, "I'll deal with that later," and then forget. The notification happened, so legally everyone's covered, but practically you still got charged for something you didn't want. Some app developers deliberately make their apps less useful over time to encourage users to forget about them while remaining subscribed. The app might have been exciting and engaging during the trial, encouraging heavy use and attachment. But after you're a paying subscriber, updates become less frequent, features stagnate, the experience degrades slightly. You use it less and less, but you don't quite cancel because maybe you'll need it again, maybe it'll get better, maybe you just haven't gotten around to it yet. Now, let's explore the specific psychology of why we fail to cancel free trials even when we intend to. Intention-action gap is a fundamental human tendency. We intend to do something. We genuinely mean to do it, but then we don't actually do it. This happens with all kinds of behaviors: exercise, eating healthy, saving money, and yes, canceling free trials. The intention is real, but executing on that intention requires overcoming inertia, remembering at the right time, and actually doing the work. With free trials, you might sign up thinking, "I'll evaluate this service and cancel before the trial ends if I don't love it." You genuinely mean this. But then life happens. You're busy with work, family, obligations. The trial end date arrives and you haven't even thought about the service in days. You meant to cancel, but the intention never became action. Present bias makes us prioritize immediate concerns over future ones. Right now, in this moment, you're thinking about work, or dinner, or the text message you just received. Canceling a free trial that doesn't end until next week isn't urgent right now. You'll do it later. But later never quite arrives, or it arrives too late, after you've been charged. Cognitive load refers to the total amount of mental effort you're using at any given time. Modern life is characterized by high cognitive load. You're managing work tasks, personal relationships, household responsibilities, health concerns, financial obligations, and more. Adding, "Remember to cancel free trials" to that load means it's competing with everything else for your attention. When your cognitive load is high, which for most people is most of the time, you drop balls. You forget things. Important things, even. Canceling a free trial might seem trivial compared to your other responsibilities. So when something has to give, it's often these small tasks that slip through the cracks. Task switching costs also play a role. You're in the middle of work, or watching TV, or spending time with family, and you remember, "Oh, I should cancel that trial." But to do it, you'd have to stop what you're doing, find your phone or computer, log into the service, navigate to cancellation, complete the process, and then return to what you were doing. This switching cost feels high in the moment, so you think, I'll do it later when I have a break. But when the break comes, you've forgotten again. Procrastination isn't just laziness. It's often anxiety avoidance. Canceling a subscription might make you feel anxious. Did you cancel in time? Did you do it correctly? Will you get charged anyway? Rather than deal with that anxiety, you procrastinate. You put it off. And by the time you overcome the procrastination, it's too late. Optimism bias makes us think we'll remember things better than we actually will. I don't need to set a reminder. I'll remember to cancel. But you overestimate your future memory. When the time comes, you've forgotten, and you're surprised that you forgot, because you were so confident you'd remember. Decision fatigue affects our ability to make good decisions as the day progresses. If you're trying to decide whether to cancel a free trial at the end of a long day, after making hundreds of other decisions, you might not have the mental energy to think it through. It's easier to do nothing, to maintain the status quo, even if that means getting charged. The default effect is powerful in subscription contexts. Once you're signed up, even if you're on a free trial, the default is to continue. Continuing requires no action. Canceling requires action. Humans are biased toward defaults. We tend to stick with whatever is already set up unless there's a compelling reason to change. Subscription services exploit this by making stay subscribed the default. Now, let's talk about some of the most egregious examples of predatory free trial practices and companies that have faced consequences. MoviePass is a famous example. At its peak, MoviePass offered unlimited movie theater visits for a low monthly fee, starting with a free trial. The business model was unsustainable from the start, which meant the company needed to maximize revenue however possible. They made cancellation extremely difficult, often requiring phone calls to customer service numbers that didn't work or had hours-long wait times. Users reported being charged after canceling, having their accounts reactivated without permission, and being unable to reach customer service to resolve issues. The company eventually collapsed, but not before collecting significant revenue from subscribers who wanted out but couldn't successfully cancel. XM Sirius, the satellite radio company, became notorious for aggressive retention tactics. Canceling required calling customer service, and the representatives were trained to spend as much time as possible trying to retain you. They'd offer discount after discount, question your reasons for canceling, and generally make the call as uncomfortable as possible. Many people gave up and remained subscribers just to avoid dealing with the call. The company faced lawsuits and eventually was required by several states to allow online cancellation. But for years, they profited from making phone cancellation so unpleasant that people just stayed subscribed. Amazon Prime has faced criticism for its free trial practices. While Amazon generally makes cancellation relatively straightforward now, there have been periods where the cancellation process was deliberately confusing. Users reported thinking they had canceled only to find they were still subscribed and being charged. The bigger issue with Amazon Prime is how it's bundled with other Amazon services. You might sign up for a Prime Video trial specifically, not realizing you're also getting a Prime membership trial with all its features. When the trial ends, you're charged for full Prime, which is significantly more expensive than just video streaming. The bundling creates confusion about what exactly you're trialing and what you'll be charged for. The New York Times subscription service, along with many other newspaper subscriptions, has been criticized for making digital cancellation impossible. You have to call during business hours to cancel. For a digital-only subscription, there's no legitimate reason this needs to be phone-only, except to create friction and give customer service a chance to retain you. Several states' attorneys general have investigated newspapers for these practices, and some have been forced to implement online cancellation, but many still make it as difficult as legally permissible. Audible, Amazon's audiobook service, auto-enrolls many users into a subscription without making it entirely clear that they're signing up for a recurring charge. The free audiobook promotions often include a subscription trial that many users don't realize they've agreed to. Cancellation is possible through the website, but it's buried in account settings and not prominently featured. Gym memberships, while not always technically free trials, operate on similar principles and have some of the most predatory cancellation practices in any industry. Many gyms require in-person cancellation, meaning you have to visit the gym during business hours to cancel. Some require certified letters. Some have policies that you must cancel by a certain day of the month, or you're charged for the following month. These practices are so egregious that many states have passed specific laws governing gym membership cancellation. But enforcement is inconsistent, and many gyms continue to make cancellation as difficult as they can get away with. Planet Fitness, while generally considered one of the more reasonable gym chains, still requires either in-person or certified mail cancellation for many membership types. This is pure friction. There's no reason cancellation couldn't be done online or over the phone, except that it would increase cancellation rates. Now, let's explore the strategies you can use to protect yourself from predatory free trial practices. The first and most important strategy is awareness. Understanding that free trials are designed to convert you into a paying customer, often through friction and confusion rather than genuine value, changes how you approach them. You're more cautious, more intentional, more prepared to manage the trial effectively. Before signing up for any free trial, ask yourself, do I actually need this service? Am I signing up because it's free or because I genuinely want to use it? If you're only interested because it's free, you probably shouldn't sign up. The risk of forgetting to cancel and being charged outweighs the benefit of a few days of access to something you don't really need. Read the terms before agreeing. Yes, this is tedious. Yes, the terms are deliberately long and confusing. But, at minimum, you should know. How long is the trial? When will you be charged? How much will you be charged? How do you cancel? If any of these answers aren't immediately clear, that's a red flag. Set reminders immediately upon signing up. Don't trust that you'll remember. The moment you complete sign-up, before you even start using the service, set a reminder in your phone or calendar for 2 or 3 days before the trial ends. This gives you a buffer in case you need time to navigate a difficult cancellation process. Some people set multiple reminders, one at the beginning of the trial to evaluate whether they're using it, one in the middle to check in again, and one near the end to cancel if needed. This might seem excessive, but if it prevents a $50 charge you didn't want, it's worth the 30 seconds to set up. Use virtual credit card numbers if your credit card company offers them. Some cards let you generate temporary card numbers for online transactions. You can set a spending limit on the virtual number, so even if the company tries to charge you after the trial, the transaction will be declined. This puts the power back in your hands. Alternatively, use privacy-focused services like privacy.com that generate virtual debit cards you can close at any time. Sign up for the free trial with a virtual card, and if cancellation proves difficult, you just close the virtual card. The company can't charge a card that no longer works. Consider using a separate email address for free trials. This helps you track what you've signed up for and makes it easier to search for trial expiration emails. Some people create a dedicated email like trials@mydomain.com and use it exclusively for this purpose. When you check that inbox, everything there is trial-related, making it easier to manage. Take screenshots of the cancellation process. If you do cancel, document it. Screenshot each step, save the confirmation email, note the date and time. If you get charged anyway, this documentation will help you dispute the charge with your credit card company or with the service itself. Cancel immediately if you know you won't continue. Some services allow you to cancel right after signing up, but still access the trial period. If you know within the first day that you don't want to continue, cancel immediately. You eliminate the risk of forgetting, and you still get to use the trial. Not all services allow this. Some revoke access immediately upon cancellation, but many don't. And for those, canceling immediately is the safest approach. Be prepared to call if necessary. If a service requires phone cancellation, do it during the trial, not on the last day. Call when you have time to potentially sit on hold and deal with retention tactics. Be firm but polite. Don't let the customer service representative talk you into staying if you've decided to cancel. They're doing their job, but you're doing what's best for you. Script your response to retention offers. No thank you, please proceed with cancellation is sufficient. You don't have to explain or justify your decision. You don't have to respond to their questions about why you're canceling. You're allowed to simply say, "I'm canceling," and insist they process it. Monitor your credit card or bank statements. Check regularly, not just when you remember you signed up for a trial. Many people don't notice unwanted charges for months because they're not reviewing their statements carefully. Set a monthly routine to check every charge and recognize any subscriptions you no longer want. Dispute charges immediately if you're charged for something you tried to cancel or forgot to cancel. Contact the company first and request a refund, explaining the situation. Be polite but firm. If they refuse, dispute the charge with your credit card company. Credit card chargebacks are powerful consumer protection tools, and companies don't want too many of them because it affects their merchant account status. Use subscription tracking apps. There are apps designed specifically to help you track and manage subscriptions. They connect to your bank account or credit card, identify recurring charges, and help you cancel ones you don't want. Some even offer to cancel subscriptions on your behalf. These tools aren't perfect, but they're helpful for people managing many subscriptions. Consider family or group plans as an alternative to free trials. If multiple people in your household or friend group want to try a service, share an account rather than each doing separate free trials. You split the cost, and you only have to manage one trial cancellation instead of several. Be skeptical of limited time offer pressure. Services often say, "Sign up for a free trial today. This offer ends soon." This creates artificial urgency designed to make you sign up without fully thinking it through. In reality, free trials are almost always available. If you miss this one, there will be another. Don't let urgency tactics pressure you into signing up before you're ready to manage the trial properly. Now, let's talk about the future of free trials and how this landscape might change. Consumer awareness is growing. More people understand that free trials are designed to be hard to cancel. This awareness leads to behavioral changes, being more selective about trials, setting reminders, using protective tools like virtual cards. As consumers get savvier, companies will need to adapt. Some companies are moving toward more ethical practices, recognizing that predatory tactics damage their brand long term. Netflix's relatively easy cancellation, for example, is part of why they maintain customer trust and loyalty. As competition increases in subscription markets, customer experience becomes a differentiator, and difficult cancellation is a bad customer experience. Regulatory pressure is increasing. More jurisdictions are passing laws requiring simple cancellation processes. The California law requiring cancellation to be as easy as sign-up is likely to spread to other states and countries. The European Union's strong consumer protection framework is influencing global practices. As regulations tighten, companies will have less room to use dark patterns. Technology is empowering consumers. Virtual cards, subscription tracking apps, bank protections against unwanted charges. These tools are becoming more sophisticated and accessible. As more people use them, they shift power back toward consumers and away from predatory subscription practices. Some companies are experimenting with alternative models. Instead of free trials with automatic billing, some offer genuine no-credit card trials where you get access for a period and then access stops unless you actively sign up. Others offer permanent free tiers with optional paid upgrades. These models avoid the trap of automatic billing while still allowing users to try the service. Microtransactions and pay-per-use models are becoming more common alternatives to subscriptions. Instead of subscribing to a streaming service, you might pay for individual movies or shows. Instead of a monthly app subscription, you might pay for features as you use them. These models give consumers more control and eliminate the problem of paying for subscriptions they're not using. Subscription bundling is growing. Services like Apple One bundle multiple subscriptions together, which simplifies management but also locks you into ecosystems. You're less likely to cancel Apple Music if it's bundled with iCloud and Apple TV Plus, even if you only really use one of the services. Bundling is more about retention than consumer benefit. The backlash against subscription overload is real. People are tired of everything being a subscription. There's growing demand for products you can actually own rather than rent forever. This might lead to some services moving back to one-time purchase models, or at least offering that option alongside subscriptions. Generational differences are emerging. Younger consumers who grew up with subscription services are more comfortable managing them but also more likely to aggressively cancel services they're not using. Older consumers who are less digitally native might struggle more with managing subscriptions but also be more reluctant to sign up for them in the first place. The role of social media and online communities in sharing information about predatory practices is significant. When a company does something particularly egregious, word spreads quickly. Reddit threads, Twitter complaints, YouTube videos exposing bad practices, these create accountability that didn't exist before. Companies have to be more careful because consumer anger can go viral. Now, as we move toward the end of our journey tonight, let's reflect on the broader implications of how free trials are designed and what it says about the relationship between companies and consumers. Free trials are a microcosm of a larger issue in modern capitalism. the tension between business interests and consumer interests. Companies need to be profitable to survive, but the tactics they use to achieve profitability can be harmful to consumers. This creates an adversarial relationship where consumers have to constantly be on guard against being exploited. This wasn't always the case. There was a time when business success was more directly tied to customer satisfaction. If you sold a good product at a fair price, customers bought it and you prospered. But subscription models create a different dynamic. Success comes not just from customer satisfaction, but from customer retention, and retention can be achieved through satisfaction or through friction. When friction is cheaper than building a great product, companies are incentivized to choose friction. The information asymmetry between companies and consumers is significant. Companies have teams of designers, psychologists, data analysts, and marketers all working to optimize conversion and minimize cancellation. They A/B test different cancellation flows to see which ones reduce cancellation rates. They analyze data to understand exactly when and why people cancel and design interventions to prevent it. Consumers, on the other hand, are individuals just trying to live their lives. We don't have teams of analysts helping us manage our subscriptions. We're doing the best we can with limited time and attention. This asymmetry means companies will almost always have the advantage unless regulation or technology levels the playing field. The accumulation of small harms is worth considering. Getting charged $20 for a subscription you forgot to cancel might not be catastrophic for any individual, but multiply that by millions of consumers, and you're talking about billions of dollars flowing from consumers to companies, not because of value provided, but because of confusion and friction. These small harms add up to a significant transfer of wealth. There's also the opportunity cost. Money spent on unwanted subscriptions is money not spent on things you actually need or want. For people living paycheck to paycheck, these charges can mean the difference between making rent or not, buying groceries or not. What seems trivial to a company can be significant to an individual consumer. The erosion of trust is perhaps the most concerning long-term effect. When consumers consistently feel tricked or exploited, they become cynical about all businesses. They're less willing to try new products or services, less willing to give companies the benefit of the doubt, more likely to expect the worst. This benefits no one in the long run. Ethical businesses that genuinely try to treat customers well get painted with the same brush as predatory ones. Consumers can't easily tell which is which until they've been burned, so they approach all subscription offers with suspicion. This makes it harder for good companies to acquire customers and easier for bad companies to hide among them. The question of regulation versus market solutions is ongoing. Some argue that regulation is necessary to prevent predatory practices, that companies won't voluntarily act ethically if being unethical is more profitable. Others argue that market forces, consumer choice, and technology will solve the problem without heavy-handed regulation. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Some regulation is necessary to set baseline standards, but consumer tools and market competition also play important roles. Personal responsibility enters the conversation too. At what point is it the consumer's responsibility to track their own subscriptions and cancel them appropriately? Companies argue that they provide all the necessary information and tools, and if consumers don't use them, that's not the company's fault. Consumers argue that companies deliberately design systems to be confusing and difficult, which is bad faith even if it's technically legal. The reality is that both companies and consumers have responsibilities. Companies should design fair, transparent, easy-to-understand systems. Consumers should pay attention to what they sign up for and manage their subscriptions actively. But when the power imbalance is so significant, when companies are deliberately designing for confusion, the burden of responsibility can't fall entirely on consumers. Now, as we come to the end of our journey tonight, I want to leave you with some final thoughts. Free trials aren't inherently bad. They serve a legitimate purpose in allowing consumers to evaluate products and services before committing financially. The problem isn't the concept, it's the execution. When companies design free trials with the intention that consumers will fail to cancel, when they add friction and confusion deliberately, when they treat customer retention as something to be engineered rather than earned, that's when free trials become predatory. If you've been caught by a free trial, if you've been charged for something you meant to cancel or forgot to cancel, please know that it's not entirely your fault. Yes, you could have been more careful, you could have set better reminders, you could have read the terms more thoroughly, but the system was designed to make you fail. The interface was designed to confuse you. The process was designed to be difficult. You're not stupid or irresponsible. You're human, dealing with systems designed to exploit normal human psychology and behavior. Moving forward, be more cautious about free trials. Ask yourself if you really need each service before signing up. Set reminders immediately. Use protective tools like virtual cards. Check your statements regularly. Cancel promptly if you're not using a service. These practices won't make you immune to being charged accidentally, but they'll significantly reduce your risk. Also, remember that you have power as a consumer. You can dispute charges, you can leave negative reviews, you can share your experiences to warn others. You can choose to support companies that treat customers ethically and avoid companies that don't. Your individual actions might feel small, but collectively, consumer behavior shapes business practices. The subscription economy isn't going away. If anything, it's expanding. More and more products and services are becoming subscriptions. This makes it even more important to be intentional about what you subscribe to and diligent about managing those subscriptions. The complexity will only increase, which means your strategies for dealing with it need to be strong. As you drift off to sleep tonight or rest in this quiet space, let go of any frustration or shame you're carrying about subscription charges. You're not alone in this experience. Millions of people deal with the same issues. It's a systemic problem, not a personal failing. Tomorrow is a new day. If you're currently managing subscriptions you don't want, tomorrow you can work on canceling them. If you've been charged for something you didn't intend to pay for, tomorrow you can dispute it. If you're considering signing up for a free trial, tomorrow you can approach it with more awareness and better protective strategies. Sleep well tonight, releasing any stress about these financial frustrations. The knowledge you've gained tonight will serve you well. You understand now how these systems work, why they're designed the way they are, and how to protect yourself. You're more prepared, more aware, more capable of navigating this landscape. Rest now. Let your breathing slow. Let go of worries about subscriptions and charges and cancellations just for tonight. There will be time tomorrow for action, for vigilance, for managing your financial life. Tonight is for rest, for peace, for simply existing without the weight of these concerns. You're doing your best in systems designed to work against you. That's enough. You're aware now. and awareness is the first step toward protecting yourself. Be kind to yourself about past mistakes, vigilant about future decisions, and confident that you can navigate this complex landscape. You're safe, you're capable, you're going to be okay. Good night.